Hey everyone, I'm Jennifer Whitaker, trauma specialist, and I want to welcome you back or welcome to my channel if this is the first time you're here. I want to start out today by talking about gold versus platinum. And you might be asking yourself, what the heck does gold versus platinum have to do with trauma? Well, it's about communication. It's the golden rule versus the platinum rule. Now, most of us are well aware of the golden rule because especially if you're from the United States, you were probably raised on the golden rule. Treat other people the way you want to be treated. And it sounds wonderful, right? It sounds great to treat other people the way you want to be treated. However, there's a flaw in the golden rule. And the flaw in the golden rule is that it lacks empathy because the golden rule is all about me and the way I want to be treated and imposing upon others the treatment that I want to experience myself. There's no regard for the other person and how they want to be treated. So according to the golden rule, there's no need to consider the other person's perspective or their feelings or their wants or their needs. And as a trauma specialist, I just can't get behind that anymore, which is why I'm here to talk about the platinum rule. And I hope that all of you will open up to the platinum rule today as well. The platinum rule states, instead of treating other people the way you want to be treated, treat other people the way they want to be treated. And that may make you wonder, how will I know how other people want to be treated? Well, this is what I love about the platinum rule is if we're going to treat other people the way they want to be treated, that means we have to communicate with the other person to find out how they want to be treated. So the platinum rule encourages communication, it encourages connection, it encourages social engagement, and a sense of understanding of the other person. And there are steps to do that. So I'm going to jump into the steps in just a moment. But before I do, like I said a minute ago, welcome to my channel. If you're here, please like, subscribe, share, and be sure to hit that bell so you don't miss any other videos. All right, let's get into the steps of applying the platinum rule. Because again, the platinum rule is all about effective and healthy communication. So number one is you have to have the courage to speak up for yourself and to let other people know how you want to be treated. So being able to communicate your needs effectively is important to applying the platinum rule to effective communications. The second step is effective listening, because healthy communication requires active or effective listening. Studies show that the average person spends between 70 and 80% of their time engaging in some form of communication throughout the day. Now, these are average statistics, so it's going to vary from person to person just a little bit. But the average person spends 9% of their time writing, 16% of their time reading, 30% of their time speaking, and more than 45% of their time listening. So listening is a huge part of communication. It is the biggest and most important part of communication. And there's this thing called the Pareto principle, also known as the 80-20 rule. And the 80-20 rule states that 20% of inputs generate 80% of outputs. So when applied to effective communication, this principle translates to listening 80% of the time during communication. That's how important listening is. And listening requires more than just hearing the words another person is saying. Effective listening requires focusing your attention on being the listener. Your intention is to listen, and you're listening with more than just your ears. You're listening with all of your attention. And this includes noticing nonverbal communication, which will give you even more information than just the verbal spoken words will. And paying attention is important, especially if you're listening to understand the other person. So if you catch yourself thinking about, oh, I know what I'm going to say next, then you're off task. You're not actually listening to the other person. Just gently redirect yourself back into listening in that engaged, attentive listening. Withhold judgment. This is super important because judgment blocks listening. So the person is not the idea. And that's important to remember and to be able to separate the two, because I have a lot of ideas that I share, but I am not the ideas. And sometimes new evidence comes my way and my ideas change because I change my mind when presented with new evidence sometimes. So I am not my ideas. And remember, like I said a minute ago, that judgment blocks understanding. Now, it's also important when you're listening to mirror and reflect back, especially when it's your turn to speak. So you're going to reflect back in your own words what you heard, what the message was. You're also going to reflect back the intention and the emotion and anything else that you sense was embedded in their words. You're going to reflect that back to them. And by doing this reflecting or mirroring back to them, you're actively giving the person an opportunity to clarify anything that you may have misconstrued, misunderstood, or that was just unclear to begin with. So that was step 2, and listening is a big one. So let's go on to part 3 about how do you apply the platinum rule. Have clear boundaries and communicate them. So it's really important to sit down with yourself and understand where are your boundaries, where are your edges, and what are you going to do when somebody crosses a boundary, or you get to one of your edges and you're about to tip over it. Because boundaries can help with culture gaps. They can prevent unintended acts of disrespect, and they can minimize unintended microaggressions. Number 4, in applying the platinum rule, is use empathy in your communication. Empathy is the ability to identify and understand what other people are feeling and sensing. And cognitive empathy is another way to describe a process called mentalizing. And you can look up mentalizing if you want to know more about it. It's essentially imagining yourself in someone else's shoes. What would it be like to go through the experience that this other person is sharing with you? And then as you imagine this experience that the other person is sharing with you, that segues into step 5, which is to ask questions. And this is how you continue to improve using the platinum rule in your life, by asking questions. Because whenever you ask questions, you're connecting with another person on a human level. You're not trying to impose your beliefs or what you think should be onto them. You're listening to understand, you're asking questions for clarity, and there's more engagement and more connection, even with people that we might not have a lot of things in common with. If we apply the platinum rule, we can start to reduce stress, reduce anxiety, and increase social engagement and increase connection in the world around us. So I hope after watching this that you will consider dropping the golden rule and adopting the platinum rule. Please like, share, subscribe, comment below, give me a thumbs up. A little external validation never hurts, especially on a YouTube channel whenever I'm just talking to a camera and hoping it lands somewhere. Let me know what you think. All right, everyone, I'll see you next time. Happy self-discovery.